want to go someplace else, like not in the parking lot, or what do you guys think?
I usually walk just down along the path by the ocean.
I like to think of it as like my walking path. So I don't know if you know about, how Darwin had his thinking path. He would do his best thinking as he sort of walked around this path. I do sometimes listen to music, but really it's an attempt to kind of break free from technology and just kind of walk and think.
What kind of music?
I have eclectic musical tastes. That's all I'll say. I'm interested in ecology, evolution, and conservation. Fish just are a great study system to kind of answer all these broader questions that I have. We're kind of at a tipping point now with climate, that if we continue to see this trend towards drier and drier weather, we're almost certainly going to lose some of the iconic fish species that we have in this part of California, because it's just going to become too dry for them. I'm interested in ways that we can use the adaptations in those populations today to help populations evolve that are further north and that are going to be facing the same threats that our populations here in Santa Cruz are facing now. Those are the same things that are going to be happening further north in 10 or 20 or 50 years. And so we do have kind of this genetic variation here that could serve as a genetic resource for populations further north in the future. What I find the most amazing about these fish that migrate from streams to the ocean and back to their streams is that, how much of the world they experience in their lifespan. If you see them in your backyard, essentially, say if you go to Henry Cowell and you see little steelhead swimming around in the San Lorenzo River in Henry Cowell, those fish may swim from that little stretch of stream that's in your little part of the world out to this ocean, out to the Bering Sea, and all the way back in the lifespan of that little fish. And if sort of that doesn't motivate you, then there's not a whole lot that will, because I think that just really shows the connectivity of the world and how these fish just experience so much of it, but yet they come back to our place, right? Honestly, we need to vote in ways that support climate action. And that's at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level. We have to vote in ways that support climate action, that reduce fossil fuel use, that allow us to achieve the targets that that we should be achieving, which is essentially reducing our CO2 emissions to zero, because that's what it's going to need to take. Supporting groups that are into water conservation, land conservation. Dam removals are a great example for anadromous fish, right? If we remove dams, salmon will then expand their spawning range. They'll have much more habitat. One thing that gives me hope is teaching and interacting with the undergraduate students, because they are really enthusiastic, smart, they're very driven, and they're very mission oriented. They have a very clear sense of the challenges that we face, and they're sort of very clear-eyed about those challenges, but they're not pessimistic. And I think that's what gives me hope, is that we have a generation that's, I think, much more prepared to tackle these challenges than I think maybe my generation was, where we were spent so much time thinking about questions like, well, is climate changing? Whereas now this generation doesn't have any doubt that climate's changing, and now we can kind of get that out of the way and move towards, well, what are the solutions to the fact that it is changing?
I imagine high fives erupt when you actually find some fish. Like, yeah, there's one. Like...
If we get a good, if we find a good spot and there's lots of fish there, and even if we think, wow, this was a good spot last year and it's still a good spot this year, then that's always the best feeling, because you feel like things are at least holding steady, right? And we're not losing ground, and that's the best feeling.